just wanted to start by thanking you, Nate, for taking the time to chat with us at the Christian Beat, all about your upcoming music. We'll start there and see where else the conversation takes us.
Cool.
But Hiding Place is kind of where we want to start, and it's due out later this month. And I think I want to start more on, where that name came to you, or when it came to you, or how you feel that kind of encapsulates the whole project.
Yeah, the name actually for the album Hiding Place didn't come until the very end of the process of making the record. So the album was actually it took about 2.5 years, just because I have a lot of other music projects that I do. And the Heights stuff is kind of my passion project, the stuff I really care about, just because it's the most me of any of the projects that I do. I work a lot with other artists as a songwriter and a producer, so I don't have a lot of creative expression just for myself. And so Heights is definitely my way to just like be myself sonically and also lyrically. So for me, originally the songs were, I was really interested in the world of electronic music when I was in college doing DJing and stuff like that. And so making that kind of music sonically was like just something I was really interested in, and there wasn't a ton of it in the Christian music space. And so I thought it was just a very natural fit and like something I was excited about, kind of blending those two. Originally, all the songs were very positive and upbeat and exciting. And so the album name was going to be something with that kind of strength behind it. It was going to be like called Miracles or Other Side, or something that just kind of felt a little bit, what you'd expect from like an electronic record. And it wasn't until I started talking with some friends who knew me really well and know me as I'm very introverted. Every time I take a personality test, I'm on the total introversion side, like as far towards the I column as you can be. That the album was originally like just supposed to be this outward expression of like something that wasn't as much me. And then I started writing a few songs that were much more soundscapey, I guess if that's a word. They were more like soundscapes, like soundtrack stuff. I've been in love with film composition my whole life, and that's something I really, really am passionate about. And so I named a song on the album the song that hasn't come out yet. The final song on the record is just instrumental. It's just this big soundscape, like 7-minute song. And it's very much me. There's no lyrics, but it's sonically me. And it's very soft and relaxing and peaceful. And I called the song Hiding Place. Because for me, that was like that when I think about my quiet time with God and my time alone, that's what I think about. That music is my hiding place. And so I didn't realize how important that song was to me until I started talking to my friends about it and showing them the songs. And a lot of my friends gravitated towards that last song because they knew me, and that song reminded them of me. And so after talking to a bunch of people, they were like, make the album like more about you, make it more about your journey and like your relationship with God, instead of just like what you think the industry would want. And so yeah, I decided a few months ago, before rolling out the album, to call it Hiding Place instead, which for me is just a lot more personal and a little bit more, I don't know, just more me, So yeah, that's kind of where that name came from.
No, that's interesting. It's always interesting to me when you see that kind of evolution of a project over time, because some people are very honed in on, what the project is going to be up front. And then there's others that it kind of morphs and changes and takes a different shape as it's developed, if that makes sense. So that always
Absolutely. I'm great. I like to, visualize a project before it's even started, and to have a very strong concept of something before I jump into it. And in all of the other projects I've done in my life, that's the approach I take, where it's like, this is going to be the brand, this is going to be the styling, that's the sound, this is going to like the name, all that stuff comes before the creation process. And with this album, it was very different just because it was kind of being built piece by piece whenever I had some free time. And then when it all came together and I listened through it with my friends, it was like this moment of like, oh, wow, this album is totally different than what I thought it was going to be. It's much more personal. Like the stories, the lyrics are much more about my struggles and my, victories that I've had, with God by my side, and like how much my life has changed over the past few years. And like that, the album just totally morphed into something that was a lot more personal and a lot less like just what I was kind of, throwing to the industry to like see if it would catch on.
Mhm.
So that's kind of how that happened. But that's uncommon for me. So it was like a big leap that way. So
Oh, for sure. And I'm curious, you said it was 2, 3 years in the making because you were kind of doing it as you went there. But when did you first kind of latch on to that this was something that you wanted to even start doing? Like what was that kind of change for you to know that you wanted to start working on this?
um well, I've been working with a label called Dream,
Mhm.
the beginning of Heights, and good friends with Lance over there, who is like, he's just been championing the Heights project for a long time, and he's been extremely flexible with me. I really, as far as our deal goes, like I needed to put out a lot more music a lot earlier on, and he knew I was in the Navy when I signed my deal with Dream. And then I got out and I started my own business, and there was just a lot of difficulty and there was a lot of stuff going on. And he was extremely flexible with me. And so I think a lot of it was I wanted to come through for him because I had just like taken so much time off, and I knew that like I wanted to do this with Dream Records. But then also it was just for me. I knew that I really needed to put this music out, and then at the same time I was just starting to get to know my fiance, and she was also a huge proponent in that, just like helping me kind of be more comfortable with the stuff that I was doing. And she could also see very quickly when I was passionate about making a song or when I was just doing the song because I felt like I had to. And she saw that every time I worked on the Heights stuff that I was, you know, leaving the studio happier than when I went into the studio. And
Mhm.
like think for her, she knew that it was like not only good for me, but like good for my soul. And like it was bringing me closer to God. And like all these great things were happening when I was focusing on the Heights record. And so there was kind of this like shift of focus towards like really completing this album and making sure that it was something I was proud to put out under Heights.
Absolutely. And to your point, you have released quite a few of the tracks already over the last bit of time. I'm curious if there's any of the listener feedback and kind of input that you've gotten on those, if there's anything that stands out or you were maybe not necessarily expecting to hear as folks have gotten to listen to the music.
Yeah, I think I've just been really encouraged by people listening in general. Like I don't really do a lot of marketing for the Height stuff. Like I don't really push it all that hard. I have a pretty hectic schedule with my other music projects, and so I really put these out just for one or two people to hear it if they need to hear it. And so when it gets onto an editorial playlist or if it gets on radio, like and people start responding and saying, hey, this is exactly how I'm feeling, or like this is really moving, or this connects with me, like that just means everything to me. So like the fact that happens at all just is a miracle, and it's not something that I really expected. I wanted to put the music out, but I really kept my expectations, you know, I just kept them realistic just because I knew like for me, I'm so uncomfortable in the world of social media and marketing. And so when I'm done a song, like I really put it in God's hands. I'm just like, take the song where you need to take it and like let people hear it if you need to hear it. And it's just been amazing, like seeing that stuff happen, seeing people listen and have it affect them, especially songs that have been very personal to me. Hearing other people like also experiencing, similar droughts or difficulties in life, and just like it's been incredible just seeing that, so I could get one comment on the whole album and it would just make it all worth it. So the fact that I have more than one comment is pretty amazing.
For sure. And I'm not asking for your favorite track because obviously you included them all for a reason, but is there a track or a lyric that's kind of speaking most to you right now?
um yeah, I think that is tough because they all kind of they all sit with me at different times, but I think a song that was important to write and was kind of difficult to write was Don't Be Afraid, which came out I think a few weeks ago,
Hmm.
with a good friend who's featured on it, Sagen. And originally that song was more of like this vibe track that was very sonically cool and had like these nice melodies and stuff. And then as I started writing the lyrics, I was writing it about something that's really difficult for me, which is worry. And I'm constantly worrying and I'm constantly nervous and fearful about so many things. My whole career is music. And so that's just, it's so like it can so easily just go away at any moment. And it's really scary to just be doing like entertainment full time. um, so that one was just one of those songs that felt kind of magic the way it came together. Um, where you write the lyrics, but then and you sing them, and it all is just kind of normal, work. But then once you hear it, it's like something happens to the song, and you somehow I don't know, it feeds your soul in a way that I didn't expect. Where like just hearing those words repeated, one of the reasons I did that is because I feel like God oftentimes has to tell me 3 or 4 times before I actually listen to him. And so something as simple as saying, "Don't be afraid," like he'll say that on a daily basis to me, and I'll be like, "Yeah, got it," and then I'll like continue on worrying. And so the point of that song was like, yeah, I have to say it 3 or 4 times in each chorus before I finally like it finally sinks in. And I even did that sonically with the song, which is something I love to combine, like the theory of music with the lyrics, because I feel like when they do come together, there's like this magic that happens. And so the song melodically doesn't hit the one, which is the root of the song, until the very end of the chorus, where I say "Don't be afraid" for like the third or fourth time in the chorus. And so when that does happen, and the chorus comes in and the drums come in, it's just kind of this moment of like, okay, it finally sunk in, and like you can finally have that peace. And so for me, whenever I hear that song and that moment comes, I just it's almost just like a little reminder, that's like, hey, remember that this happened before and that this works, and trust God, and like don't be afraid, and everything's going to be okay. And so like that song to me right now is probably my favorite on the record.
That's awesome. I always love to hear when, it's not just the lyrics, it's not just the music, they kind of they're coming together for sure. Um and you mentioned that you had a collab with that one. There's a handful of others that you've released that you've collabed as well. And you've mentioned other music projects. So I'm just curious how all of that, how you think that improves, the product that you're putting out, why that's important to you.
Yeah. Oh, it's everything. Like originally the album was going to be 100% collaborations. I wasn't going to sing at all on the record. I'm not a huge fan of my voice. I get very insecure about my voice. My brother's a world-class singer, and he's very well known for it. And so I don't like to sing, um, but I love to write and I love to produce. And so the whole album was going to be kind of based off of this concept, like Alinea or Griffin, these huge like EDM producers who would just have a bunch of singers featured on their songs. And so that was my album. Originally, I was going to do that, and I had all these features, and I've been doing this for a while now, so I know a bunch of people who are going to be like happy to do it. And then it ended up just being like, okay, this person can get me vocals in like 3 months. This person can't get them until 6 months, and like the album was going to come out in 2070, and it's like people don't even listen to music in 2070. It's all just vibrations, that travel through the air. So I don't know, like it was just going to take way too long. And so I was like, you know what? I have the songs written. I'm just gonna sing the ones for the people who don't have time to do the features. And then I reached out to some friends, actually everyone on the record, Josh, Micah, Sajan, Seth, who's Hyperfenton. They're all friends. The only one who I didn't know before the album was Sofika, the German singer, and she was incredible. I literally just found her on like New Music Friday Christian or something. I was listening to her voice. And I was like, she's like made to do this type of music. And so I just reached out, and that happened so flawlessly. And she was like so professional, and also just a really great writer, and just has an amazing voice. So that it just came together very organically with all the people that I featured. And so it felt very cool to kind of do a little bit of both, where I got to do a bunch of collaborations, and then I also got to do a little bit of like my own voice, which I wouldn't have done if it weren't for my fiance, because I am very insecure about my voice, and she was the one kind of pushing me to sing on the song. So
Oh, that's great. So, it's not even just those that were featured. There's obviously a whole crew behind you outside of that too, for sure. Um, that's great. I know we're getting close to time, so I guess I'll wrap with one final thing. Just want to give you the opportunity for any of those that are going to come in contact with your music, and kind of what you hope, either a little message of encouragement, or what you hope the impact of that is for them.
yeah, well, that's good. I guess honestly, like, um, hmm, I don't know. That's a good question. Um, I really want the album to be kind of a journey through different emotions. Like, um, the truth is, like, there's not the world isn't just full of happiness, and we're not promised as Christians that we're going to be happy all the time. There are going to be a lot of difficult moments, and there's going to be, you know, time for every emotion under the sun. Like it's literally written about. So it's I guess like I hope the album can be there for whenever you're feeling sad, or whenever you're feeling lost, or whenever you're feeling happy and you just want to dance, or whenever you're feeling scared and you need to be reminded, to not be afraid. Or even when you don't have words, like me, a lot of the times, I'm not a great, uh, obviously, that's just, I'm not very good at putting words together. So, a lot of times like you don't have words, and so there are 3 songs on the album that are instrumental, and they're just there to worship. Sometimes when you don't have words to say, you can just close your eyes and lift your hands, or just be alone in a room and just allow the songs to say what you can't. And that's kind of, to me, the most that's the way that I worship personally. And like, if anyone out there is like me, then hopefully these songs can help them, just feel closer to God in those moments where they don't have the right words to say.
Absolutely. I just want to thank you again, Nate, for taking the time to chat today. Really appreciated getting to learn more about the music, and hoping all the best for you on this.
Thank you so much, Jesse. It was great talking to you too.